you actually and talk a little bit more about what something I think is a little more plausible and also a little bit more fun to get into. Do you think Tucker Carlson will ever run for president?
Well, yeah, that's actually been going around lately. There's a Politico piece written about it. Apparently, it's been quite the buzz in the GOP lately. Is that they want Tucker Carlson, which is so funny that every time the Republicans decide to nominate someone, it's like, which celebrity or cable news personality are we gonna fucking rally behind this time? It's so revealing that they claim that liberals are the party of Hollywood and celebrities, but they nominate Ronald Reagan,
Party for Ronald Reagan, yeah.
Donald Trump, and now they're eyeing Tucker Carlson as their perfect candidate for 2024. And in some ways, they're not wrong. You know,
I mean, he's like the leading Bannonite, right?
Yeah. And if they're wanting to kind of continue going down the road of Trumpism, you know, this faux populist ideology that kind of puts very pro and front and center the, you know, America first, like union stuff, bring the jobs back, all this stuff, which is, you know, in theory, great ideas, but never actually gets done when the Republicans are in office, as we've seen over and over and over again. They're never going to bring the jobs back. They're only going to keep outsourcing them, etc. But if they're wanting to keep going down that line of the Trumpist faux populism, instead of, you know, reverting to the more Mitt Romney style corporate Republican conservatism, Koch brother stuff, then yeah, I think that Tucker Carlson might be their best bet, just simply because of his experience as an orator, the fact that he knows how to communicate. And I mean, when it comes to being a politician, especially a presidential politician, communication is half the battle as far as I'm concerned, especially in the Republican primary, where they really just respond to, you know, the alpha male on the stage. That's why Donald Trump won. You know, he was the loudest, proudest, meanest, dumbest Republican on the stage. He, you know, threw the most insults and was the most sexist and bigoted, and they rewarded him.
Yeah, I think that it's either going to, I think that it's going to be a crowded primary again for the Republicans in 2024. Me too. But I think that you're going to get a weird sampling of the old guard versus the new guard again. So you're going to see the Marco Rubios, and I don't think you'll see Jeb Bush, but you'll see guys like him. Definitely, I think you see Marco Rubio go for it again. Maybe you see Ted Cruz go for it again now that he has his big podcast following. But I think you also will see guys like Josh Hawley try and get in there. And I think you'll also see guys like I do. And I don't think anybody could. At first, I thought that Josh Hawley would have it in the bag if he ran, because he kind of has that like Kennedy look, and he kind of has the he lies enough to like make his policies sound like he's pro people when really he's just a fucking Koch brothers shill that doesn't support, you know, anything that's beneficial for the working class in the long run. But I think that Tucker Carlson is a fucking formidable. I mean, I don't think anybody could beat Tucker Carlson if he ran for the Republican primary. He has the biggest show on cable news television, I believe, from any network. I think that he's extremely popular. He's a fucking bigoted racist, which is like a prerequisite for winning anything in the Republican Party. He's against the war, which seems to be a winner. His trade policy and again his like anti-immigration rhetoric like really like works up that base. I don't think he could win against like a really strong progressive, but he could surely win against somebody like Pete Buttigieg if they fuck up and do that again.
That's my fear, is that someone like Tucker Carlson could win the Republican nomination based on his communicative abilities, his confidence and charisma.
He's a great debater.
Yeah, exactly. Great debater. And then, the Democrats would end up nominating someone totally lame, like a Pete Buttigieg or, you know, a Kirsten Gillibrand or someone that's totally not really representative of the populist, uprising feeling in this country. And then once again, just like in 2016, we have a faux populist versus an admitted corporatist and
like an admitted neoliberal. Yeah,
exactly. And then we take that really scary chance of, you know, once again handing the country over to, you know, an authoritarian minded faux populist that is really good at rallying up a large section of the country. I think that's a scary bet for sure. And it will be interesting to see the Republican primary in 2024. Personally, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. In 2016, it was so fun watching the Republican Party, you know, splinter off and Donald Trump throw bombs at, you know, little Marco and Lion Ted and all. It was amazing. And I'm hoping that it's just as dirty and just as, messy as it was last time.
No holds bars.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something else to consider is the Trump kids. I mean, I know Ivanka wants to be president. I'm sure Don Jr. has his eyes on the prize too. These people think that they're...
Could you imagine like Ivanka being the vice president of like Tucker Carlson or something? I think that's something that could really end up happening down the road. I think I'm not like, it sounds like the worst nightmare that you could ever fucking imagine, but I'm worried that that's the direction of this fucking country, man, because it's like, if we keep fucking up and not getting, regular people, working class people represented in Congress. We don't. I mean, that people are going to stay home on the left, and then that's just going to let the right do whatever the fuck it wants, which is what I'm really worried about.
Yeah, me too. And especially if the Democrats, keep intentionally suppressing actual popular candidates, people like Bernie Sanders, who were, filling stadiums, filling amphitheaters. There's your answer to Donald Trump. There's your response to this faux populism. It's right in front of you, and you intentionally swatted it away. And
yeah, that really full Tulsa, Oklahoma rally.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously not anymore, but I'm just saying they had their own superstar on their hands if they wanted to unleash him.
Yeah, and it feels like the thing is that the left doesn't have a party that's willing to get behind them like the right does, right? The Republicans will get behind the new quote unquote new right, like, and anybody can read my piece, I think, that wants to know what I think about the new right, but I'm certainly no fan, but they at least have a party that's willing to take and listen to their ideas and propel their faction of the party. The Democrats are so bought off and so pumped with corporate dollars, which of course the Republicans are too. It's just the new right isn't bothered by that, which is one of those big holes in these like so-called populist guys. They never call out their candidates for taking like a shit ton of Koch brother dollars, but whatever. We don't have to get into that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that we're in a shithole. I don't even remember where I was going with that, but
it's definitely interesting to see the Republicans, successfully kind of be the more quote unquote populist party when it comes to certain rhetoric, how they intentionally did that in 2016 and how I think they're going to, I mean, after Trump is gone, most of the Republicans are probably going to start distancing themselves from Trump and saying like, oh, I was never an enabler of his. I just, stuck it out. But then they're going to try to reinvent the party and, by holding on to those popular policies, but by getting rid of the more, offensive tweeting, more obscene language, unhinged stuff like that.
I don't know. I think that it could go another way. I think they could lean into like a more polished kind of still I think that so let's like imagine that they go with like a person like Tucker, or I mean I don't even think that they would go with a person like Tucker, right? But there would definitely there's a faction of the Republican Party that would really get behind somebody like that, and if he did win, right, they would support him enthusiastically from the Republican Party. So I think that he would maintain what he always has, which is an openly racist rhetoric. I think that he would have no problem blaming all of the country's issues on minorities and that kind of thing.
He just does it in a more convincing, less obvious way. He's far better at using dog whistles than Donald Trump, where Donald Trump just comes out and says the quiet part out loud. Tucker Carlson, and same with Josh Hawley and all these faux populist new right characters. The one thing they are admittedly good at is packaging their shitty racist ideas into things that sound like they make sense. This isn't about race. It's about America first. I'm just looking out for the jobs of the heartland and all this bullshit. When obviously in reality, if they really cared about that, they'd be going after the corporate capitalist class that, makes those decisions, not the poor immigrants that are making like $3 an hour to, do some job that,
I just think we have to have a closed economy if we're ever going to be profitable, and we don't want to, tax anybody that's paying me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, and that is my fear ultimately, is that they will be able to, maintain those same policies, like you said, keep doing the same openly racist stuff, but just do it in a more palatable way for, the suburbanites, for the boomers, the people that have been so turned off by Trump, but that, would vote happily for John McCain or Mitt Romney or Chris Christie or Marco Rubio or even Ted Cruz.
Yeah, the silent majority, the people that the fucking Democrats are always imagining are ripe for the picking, as long as we can, pull ourselves far enough away from the working class. Yeah. Exactly. What do you think that the prospects for the Democrats look like in 2024? Because I think that it's going to be another bloodbath. And I think that I think that might be the left's last real chance. And that sounds pessimistic, but I think with climate change, right? If they get another crack at somebody Tucker Carlson could be a 2-term president. That would be devastating to this
especially if Joe Biden wins in 2020 and then is a very milquetoast, centrist, moderate president for 4 years, like an even less inspiring Obama presidency, for 4 long years. People quickly remember that, you know, the Obama neoliberal order was not actually that great, and that
That's why, yeah.
it was all nostalgia because of how bad Trump was. When they remember that, and then they get the chance to vote for a charismatic, you know, person like Tucker Carlson, who's really, you know, lying, you know, distorting reality, but in a way that is effective. You know, I think he will. I think he would be able to trick a lot of people into, you know, voting, bringing back the conservative governance, saying like, oh, we took, you know, Donald Trump was a bit of an aberration, so we reverted to Joe Biden, but now I'm here to, you know, really carry through Trump's agenda, but without all the, but as someone who's actually a serious person, as an actual politician who knows how to get things done, and who isn't a bumbling fool, because ultimately that is Donald Trump's biggest downfall, is that he, you know, he has the ideas that those people want to see implemented, but he's too inexperienced and he's too much of a fucking fool to actually, you know, play politics to get his ideas done. You know, he's not actually, he doesn't know how the legislative bodies works. Famously, when he got to, you know, the White House, he didn't even really know how bills were created or how they were passed. So he's so incompetent that he's bungled his term, and, you know, he hasn't built his wall. He hasn't done any of these things that he promised, leaving the door open for someone like Tucker Carlson, a more smart, articulate person, to kind of make a similar case even better. And like you said, if they have a, you know, milquetoast corporate opponent, then I think it would be.
Yeah, and I think that's what it'll come down to, right? I think the threat of somebody like Tucker Carlson is almost entirely neutralized if you get an articulate progressive, somebody like Nina Turner out there who's reaching all people, you know, trying to, make this clear progressive case to the public. I think that's far more, compelling. And, if you take, it doesn't have to be Nina Turner, but somebody of that ilk, right? Somebody who has true credibility in the progressive movement and has that no shit kind of like personality, somebody who the people can believe in,
Someone even, and I know that we have our disagreements with him, but someone like Andrew Yang, who would present leftism, and this is the reason why I love what Andrew Yang did so much, is that he presented leftism in a way that a lot of people hadn't considered, which is that it's the government is here to serve you. You know, he made people consider something in UBI that, 5 years ago people would have completely scoffed at, but now it's changed the way people think about the role of government in their life. It's changed the way people understand, the social safety net and the potential of a welfare state in this country if properly and humanistically applied. So I think that someone literally, it wouldn't even have to be someone that is, has a ton of progressive cred necessarily. It would just have to be a Democrat that's offering working regular people something tangible, offering them something that would get them out of the desperation they find themselves in, out of the conditions that our society has created for them. I think literally anything tangible, paired with a charismatic delivery and case would be sufficient on the left.
I don't know. Yeah, there are definitely good things about Andrew Yang that you outlined. I personally, I would not sign off on him just because I think that if we get a candidate like that, then we're going to all die from climate change. And then I just don't think that Andrew Yang has or a candidate like him who comes from a business background is going to rein in Silicon Valley, is going to, force the fossil fuel industry to fall in line, is going to, make sure that we don't fall into an economic caste system, that he's going to stop what's the atrocities that are going on and the U.S. supporting.
No, I'm not saying he'd be a perfect president. I'm just saying that when it comes to what the Democrats need to do to repel this rising.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that would be the bare minimum.
I'm not saying I approve or would vote for Andrew Yang. I'm just saying when it comes to strategy, the Democrats should take inspiration from his campaign, and that it did change the way people think about government, and that it did, remind people that, oh yeah, the government should be working for me. I should be benefiting from my tax dollars. I should be getting back something material and tangible. And I think that the Democrats should really embrace that in their messaging. Like, yeah, we are the party of helping you and your family and rescuing you from this economic desperation that so much of the country is either going through already or is about to go through when their benefits dry up, when the housing crisis hits, when this depression really, hits the full tilt, which I think it's going to maybe if not by election season, then shortly thereafter. So, I mean, even if the Democrats were to maintain their corporate, goings on behind the scene. If they want to win, strictly win, I think that that's what they should look to, because if they aren't offering people something tangible, then you better believe that the Republicans are going to figure out how to fucking do it. And that's what really scares me with
Well,
someone.
I mean, I don't know if the Republicans will offer them something tangible, but they'll certainly sell them something, right?
That's what I mean. Josh Hawley style, like I'll pretending to
Yeah.
be more far left than the Democrats. And when it comes down to it, people are easily convinced when you're dangling, money in front of their head, or like I said, a path out of the desperation they find themselves in. People don't care if it's Democrat or Republican. They don't care if it's faux populist or not. They just need help.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true in a lot of cases. Yeah, I think it's a tough spot. I think that one of the things that it'll come down to is kind of like, what do you think of the strategy that Brent Welder was talking to us about employing he was talking about it obviously at more of a congressional level, but do you think that, running maybe less progressive in the primary to kind of keep the establishment off of the candidate's back, only kind of hammering on like a few key things that, kind of Bernie Sanders already trotted, and then come general election when the Democrats, it would be completely unfounded of them to critique the candidate that they, have gotten behind already, and then to just really lay the pedal to the metal. I mean, I don't know if we could ever trust a candidate to do that, which is why I'm skeptical of something like that being efficient on like a federal level, like on a national political level, because there's so much money, there's so much intelligence, there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think it would be something that like has any efficacy?
Yeah, I do, if it's the right person, like you said, and if it's, orchestrated correctly. And it's kind of a similar thing, like we were talking about with a Yang character, or like Cynthia Nixon, who ran for governor in New York on an extremely progressive platform. Sometimes those people from the business community, or, celebrities that do decide to embrace progressive values, they can kind of, play that. They can kind of walk that line of not getting totally smeared and destroyed by the mainstream media because of their status, while also, championing the right issues. So if we had someone like that, then, I mean, I hate to say it, but that might be the best option for actually getting a presidency, to getting in power in the White House. Because as it is, I mean, like, it's just the table is so stacked against us as a movement, and especially when it comes to these more no-name leaders that aren't as popular. So I'm really hoping that someone emerges that has a decent amount of name recognition and can really harness this platform and go into 2024. Obviously, if Nina Turner wins, I think she has enough name recognition to expand her popularity in her base, especially in the South, which is where Bernie did the poorest in 2016 and 2020. I think someone like Turner could really make up some ground there. So yeah, I think we just need the right person. And God, I'm just terrified of the vote being split among a certain like good pool of progressives, and none of them really being able to get through the primary. Because as long as the Democrats keep nominating these like really milquetoast corporate candidates, I just feel like we're only going to become more and more. They're only going to become more and more the party of the suburbs, the party of the boomers. More and more so, they're just becoming the Republican Party in demographics, and like we talk about all the time, abandoning those rural voters, abandoning those more agrarian districts.
100%. I think that's a good place to kind of drop it off.
A wrap. Yeah. Thank